15 movies, 6 consecutive flops, and a reboot that has already been announced have all led to this moment. Blue Beetle is the latest movie in the DCEU, but with the way this film is tracking, it is clear that Warner Brothers, they kinda sent this movie out to die.
Tell me, do you bleed?
Which is a real shame, because I enjoyed this movie a lot more than the previous DC films. That's not to say that this movie is some secret masterpiece or something crazy like that. It's just, I personally enjoyed this movie more than the last 6 DC films, especially this train wreck. Blue Beetle is a solid movie that reminded me a lot of the first Venom film, with a little bit of Miss Marvel sprinkled in. I think the main reason I use Venom as one of the comparisons is the Blue Beetle's relationship with the suit throughout the movie kinda sorta reminds me of the relationship between Eddie and the symbiote. Also, I think this movie is going to kinda get the same reaction like Venom 1. The movie had really good acting, really good tone, but just like Venom 1, I think the critics are not going to be very kind to Blue Beetle, but the audience is really gonna like it. So I expect the same kind of reaction on Rotten Tomatoes with Blue Beetle that Venom 1 had. Hated by critics, but liked by fans. I had fun with the movie. The bar was set pretty low, and maybe I went into it with such incredible low expectations because the marketing was so dull and boring. I was actually shocked when the movie was able to deliver on the fun factor. The acting is fun. The characters are well written. George Lopez. With that being said, too bad this movie won't be saved from the DCEU box office graveyard. As of the time of this recording, Blue Beetle is tracking at an historically bad rate, and it's completely Warner Brothers' fault. How did we get here? I'm no expert, but I don't think announcing a complete reboot of the DCEU before the remaining films of the franchise come out was the brightest move. I believe the general audience just won't care for this movie, because why would they? What reason has Warner Brothers given them to see the movie? It also doesn't help that this film has to follow the real-life PR nightmare and fever dream of The Flash. Blue Beetle was set up to fail. It didn't matter how good the movie was. It was always going to underperform in the box office. Warner Brothers rushed their crossover movie in an attempt to catch up with Marvel. The DCEU pushed out films quickly, sacrificing strong foundations for each of their characters' journeys. It pissed off the fans. I mean, who needs movies when you have email? Nothing says character development like emails, right? This is clearly the best way to introduce the Justice League. Good job, everyone. $1 billion, here we come. A lot of people were done with the DCEU right after Batman v Superman because the movie didn't feel earned. It didn't feel properly set up. We didn't have a reason to be invested. It felt like a cash grab because it was. And Warner Brothers doesn't seem to understand that the general audience can catch on to things like that. We can tell when you're just going for a cash grab. So what's next? Is the Blue Beetle doomed to face the same fate as the rest of the DCEU? Well, not quite. If there was ever a time for DC fans to show out, this movie has all the potential to do what Pixar's Elemental did. It had a really bad start, but it had a crazy box office recovery, and it will need good word of mouth, just like Pixar's Elemental did, to survive. Blue Beetle has to get support from the DC fans, and I don't know how many DC fans will go out to support this movie unless the word of mouth is there. So if you like this movie, or you thought the movie was just solid and okay, I would put out the good word, because that might be the only thing that saves this film. Overall, I had fun with Blue Beetle. It's nothing special, but it's definitely better than what we've gotten. It's definitely better than The Flash. I think it's definitely better than Black Adam. It had good tone, good acting, and some funny moments, but in the end, it does kind of feel like that generic superhero movie. But for DC, where they're at right now, about to reboot their entire franchise, I consider that a win. For that reason, I'm gonna give the movie a 7 out of 10. I didn't regret seeing it like I did right after The Flash or right after Black Adam. So I think it was a fun, solid movie. If you have kids, probably a good movie to take them to right before school starts.